The following podcast contains some strong language and some very average opinions. Any references to actual people are wildly inaccurate. It's probably best if you don't listen at all. The Roaring Peacock Podcast. Welcome back to the Roaring Peacock Podcast. Today is the match preview for the Arsenal game. My name is Adonis, you know me from the Adelites. Joining me today is Alex, our resident Riot Badger.
Good morning, afternoon, whatever it is, I can't tell.
Correct. And Ben's brother, Keith Dover, from the Tuesday Club.
Hello. Do you know what? That's the first time I've heard that. I've never... 60 years. And I've worked 20 years at the Ford Motor Company. And you know what? Nobody at the Ford Dagenham plant ever said that. That's the first... Do you know what? I might have a good chuckle at that a bit later because no one has ever...
We started off well.
I've never heard that one before.
Cousin of Whitecliff.
It's another one. It's never heard that one either. God, Jesus. You should be a stand-up comedian, mate. I mean, this is just pure gold. I mean, you're clearly thinking on your feet here. Do you realise, right, you know, when I come off this, when I go to do the Arsenal podcast, which you should explain to your listeners that I'm actually a gooner, that I will take the piss out of you guys. And I hope that obviously when I come off and you talk to your fans, you'll be taking the piss out of me.
We'll be really nice about you.
Of course,
you know.
No,
Absolutely.
Once I go off, you go, oh, God, bastard,
Nope.
you know, southern... and I'm going to say to my guys, what did they talk about? And I'm going to go, they spent an hour just going, Leeds. Repeatedly, just said that. That's all I ever said.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
And making bend over jokes.
And bend over jokes, naturally, you know. But, no, so are you looking forward to the game?
A bit of trepidation for me. I think we've both come off defeats, haven't we? So yourselves with Villa, us with Palace. So it's a bit like, what do we do? What's Arteta going to put out against us? What are we going to put out? Have we got people back from injury? So it's a bit of an unknown for us. So
you would normally say he's got a draw stamped on it, haven't you? Because you've got two teams. They've both got to show something. I mean, we've been just hopeless lately. You know, I mean, the Villa game, it should have been 4, could have been actually more goals scored because Villa had a perfectly good goal disallowed. And that was 45 seconds in, which would give you a clue how the game should pan out when you're a goal down after 45 seconds. And I'm glad that this game didn't have any fans because it would have been empty stadium anyway after, right. I think most people would have walked out after that.
Right.
So it's going to be an interesting one. I think if I was a Leeds fan, I'd be more optimistic about getting a result. Because I think if the Leeds manager would have looked at the Villa game, he would have said, listen, there's weaknesses here to exploit. We know what you have to do. If you do it, if you carry out the job, you'll get a result.
I've always been optimistic against Arsenal. We seem to be your bogey team.
Whoa.
I remember 99 and Hasselbank's diving header to deny you the title.
Very much.
And even though it went to scum, it was still felt pretty good.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would do. I mean, you have been a bogey team. Don't forget, even in the 70s, you were a rival. You know, the League Cup Final, FA Cup Final. So you've always had a good record. I mean, it sort of balanced up a little bit when you had your troubles. And it's good to see Leeds back where they belong at the top table because you're a massive club.
Can I ask you something, Keith?
Yeah.
What do you think of Arsenal Fan TV? Have you been on there? What do you think of them?
Right. Do you know back in the old days when rich people used to pay the people who run lunatic asylums to go and have a look at them? Look at the inmates.
Say no more.
Right? I used to pay people at Bet to go to Bedlam to have a look. It's got that. I used to like it a little bit at first, and I can understand fans who have travelled up to say, Manchester or Leeds on a cold Tuesday night, and your team hasn't performed, and you come out, and you've all done it. You've done it. You've gone back to the pub, and they were useless. They didn't try. They didn't have any heart. They didn't have any passion. And you vent your spleen. But there comes a point, I think, with Arsenal Fan TV, they allowed certain characters to dominate the show, and then it started to get nasty and personal. And there's one particular character who's I'd love to have an electric collar around his neck. So every time he kept saying, "You know what I mean, blood? Right, thumb? You know what I mean, blood, thumb?" I would press the button to try and get, because listen, a lot of us fans, which I'm just a working class guy. I'm not Stephen Fry. We're not the most articulate, but some of them I just think, God, how thick are you? You really are dim. And they've allowed the dim people to dominate. And I have watched a few other people who are very articulate and can put a good point of view over, and they don't seem to get the same attention. Whereas others who have been now courted by radio stations, I'm not going to name their name, talk shite. I think we know they are. And they've even been on Football Focus. They've been allowed a platform.
Yeah.
But they've gone over the top with the vitriol. And actually, a lot of it's like the Arsenal podcast. We get more listeners when we've lost, because we get fans from other, like Leeds fans and Villa fans. I've had Newcastle fans and come up to us and go, "We love listening to your podcast," but not in a nasty way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas I think with Arsenal Fan TV, you get people go, "Let's look at the Gooners because they're going to melt down, and look how stupid they are." And there's a lot of Arsenal fans who do not like Arsenal Fan TV, and it has kicked off a few times.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it's promoting the extreme, isn't it? So what they've seen is the extreme opinions get the views, so they've got more extreme opinions, and it's just that it snowballs down. It's like I was involved in the startup of All Leeds TV, and one thing that we said at the startup is we didn't want to showcase extremism. It sounds awful saying extremism, but extreme opinions where people are really upset and stuff like that to cage at views, because people football is important to a lot of people, and you are in a vulnerable state after a loss, and you don't want to kind of take advantage of that and kind of promote it just to get the ad revenue. So we kind of stayed away from that. But yeah, I do see that a lot with Arsenal Fan TV. It seems like it's tickets to the asylum, isn't it? You want to see people break down, you want to see people be extreme and stuff. So, and
it's those who shout loudest seem to make themselves all clear. I mean, I've seen someone give a personal, an articulate point of view, rational point of view, and there's others behind them, and we know who these characters are. Yeah. I don't know. And they go, and it's just, hang on, you're just intimidating this person. And to keep singling out the manager or certain players, there's comes a point it gets over the top. Because the problem is with social media now, that has a way of getting back. Now, if you're singling out a certain player every week, that player gets to hear about this. That doesn't help. That doesn't help. Listen, we've all been at a match and we've booed, or you've shouted at, but that's at the ground. They don't hear that all the time.
Yeah.
But when it's on social media and one of his mates or someone gets it, if you see an Arsenal Fan TV actor, you see what they're saying about you.
Mm.
And he'll have a look at it. Oh no, and then that's not good. They've got to put a break on it.
There was a study done on the World Cup semi-final, Brazil versus Germany, a few years ago now, where Brazil got absolutely
do you remember
thumped.
that night? That was
and they were testing the Brazil fans, and they had heightened levels of cortisol in their bloodstream.
Really?
So it's like it's a physical. It's not just a mental thing or psychological thing. It's a physical effect that football has on you, and I do think you need to bend. Otherwise, you're going to get covered all in spots or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so,
but it's better to vent with a smaller audience of people that you trust rather than the internet.
yeah.
But listen, you vent at the ground. That was the point. Let's go back to the time when you could go. Football was a working man's game. You'd worked, down pick, or us Southern softies, in factory, and you'd work hard all week. You'd go to the game, and you would shout and holler and think, and then that was it. You'd go and have a drink afterwards. Yeah. Now it's this immediate rush to go to your camera or onto the computer and then carry on the venting. That's the thing. It's the prolong of the venting. You go to the game, you vent for 90 minutes, and then you go out. That's it. That was your release. Now it's carried on further, but
tune into our post-match podcast where we will carry things on further.
I've just totally undermined my point I was making. But listen, I would imagine you have boundaries.
No, absolutely.
Listen, we single out players. I was having a go at David Luiz a few months ago, and then I turn it around. I go, okay, I slagged him off a few weeks ago. Now, but you bring it back into reality, but you don't. On Arsenal fans.
I mean, it's understandable if you're slagging him off, though, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, just for his hair alone.
Do you know you was mentioning Brazil fans? We was out in Paris during the World Cup, and we went to a Brazil game, and the media love going, oh, Brazil fans, and they only ever turn it on for the camera. They are as dull as fuck, right? Until the camera crew they walk past, and then they start doing all that jumping about and that, and then as soon as the cameras go, oh, they're back to being miserable again. They only do. Now, can I ask you a question? There's a couple of questions I want to ask because it's good to talk to other fans.
I'm glad we're being interviewed on our podcast. It's good.
Right, there's one.
Go on, Keith.
Do you think there's some fans who get patronised by, let's say, the TV companies? And I'll give you an example. Right, Newcastle are playing Southampton away, and the camera goes to the Newcastle fans, and they go, oh, they've made that long journey down. Aren't they fantastic? Those Newcastle fans, they make you proud, don't they? Leeds could be playing Southampton. Let's say even further, they're playing Exeter, right? And they go,
we'd lose that.
Then they go, there's the Leeds fans. And somehow you were just transported there by the Starship Enterprise. But when it's Newcastle fans, it's like they've been on a Jarrow march. They've actually walked from Newcastle to Southampton, with their whippets under their arms. But they get, oh, aren't they lovely? Whereas Leeds or Arsenal, we travel around the country. Oh, yeah, okay, you got to the ground all right, did you? Yeah. That was easy, wasn't it?
Oh, Leeds, they always take a lot, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Leeds take a lot. I think most clubs always take their fair allocation, don't they? But for some reason, Newcastle fans always say, oh, aren't they lovely? Oh, it must be so difficult for them.
The London-centric media have got no concept of distance. So
absolutely,
that's what it is. They think that Leeds is about 20 miles outside of the M25, and then Newcastle is basically beyond the wall.
It's in Falkirk.
Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. Right. But also, I think
with the wildlings.
Yeah, they are the
Shetland
wildlings.
Islands.
But they've also got a set amount of phrases that they talk about on commentary, especially with Leeds. Like, oh, and it's good to see Leeds back in the top flight after being Champions League semi-finals. You're like, oh, you bingo, okay. He's going to mention Ridsdale, Goldfish,
yes, tick the boxes.
Bingo. It's the same with that sort of stuff. It's like, and they brought a lot of fans. Yeah, okay. You should just say something new, please.
Yeah, it used to be
little imagination, isn't it? And there's a great podcast called Football Cliches, which deals with that topic. So I highly recommend that if you've never listened.
I'll have a listen to that. Now, there's also one other thing. This is a weird one. I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Right, I want you to look at some, any era of Leeds, a match. When you celebrate, when you score a goal, camera goes to the crowd, you see all the fans jumping around, hugging each other. Now, this happens at every club. I want you to check this out. There's always one guy, he'll be wearing your club colours, who's standing there, stony-faced, not moving, looks totally stunned, not celebrating at all. You could be Barcelona, Real Madrid. There's always one guy. I'm convinced he's an alien from another planet. He's disguised himself as a human. He's gone to a football match, but he hasn't a clue what's going on or how to react when someone scores.
Well, sometimes that alien is me. Because when Leeds go 1-0 up, I'm not convinced that means that we've won in any way, shape or form. So that one goal is...
But no, you've even scored the goal.
I'll celebrate the second, but the first one's like, right, okay, so we need to be tight at the back now, so calm down, everyone.
It's like when Ralph Hasenhüttl did that thing where he's like, oh, no. You remember?
Yeah.
He goes to celebrate. Oh, no.
That's basically life as a Leeds fan.
I tell you what, just do that. I'll ask your listeners to go through your old DVDs or go on YouTube, find a game, and I bet you will find someone in that crowd who's not celebrating. You know, it's
probably an opposition fan.
Yeah.
No, he'll be wearing a Leeds scarf or he'll be wearing a Leeds shirt. He's probably been there. It's just you can find someone. Always find someone. Now, got a question to ask. How do you stand on the VAR?
This is the
VAR.
The Leeds United podcast.
It's a wrong question.
Leeds United podcast presented by an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, sorry.
Go on, Keith.
Sorry.
Go on.
No, I'll tell you why this is good for me, because I can get a word in. I never get a word in edgeways on our podcast. I'm lucky if I get 10 seconds out.
It's all about Alan.
Oh, no, I ain't saying a word. He listens to this, then I'll have him moaning in the ear hole. So I flip it.
He's probably switched off when I said David Luiz had terrible hair.
No, he won't listen. I've already told him you've given me £255 for doing this.
Don't say that, Keith. We're going to have to pay everybody else. That was a private fee.
We're actually raising money for charity. So if you want,
fuck off now.
you or any of your celebrity friends want to chip in, that'd be great.
You just tell us where, and I'll make sure I'll ignore it.
That's Arsenal for you.
VAR, come on, guys. I think the three of us, right? We're now UEFA and FIFA, right? I reckon we can sort this out over a pint. Right?
All right.
Now, right.
We actually drew a line under VAR in the last match review.
Right. Well, I tell you, right, this is all right. I'm the head of football. This is how I change VAR. VAR. Right, we go back to the old way: referee and linesman. Okay, linesman. Let's say it comes back to you. That was miles offside. Absolutely, really offside. That's when VAR comes in. It's not the size 3 millimetre of a badge, 2 centimetres of a boot. It's got to be clear daylight. Really blatantly offside, because we're seeing good goals being disallowed. Yeah. You know, because
the benefit of the doubt used to go to the attacker, didn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the thing that changed the most, and they just need to bring that back. And however they do that, whether it's your feet are onside or if you're offside by, say, 10 centimetres or some arbitrary figure.
No, I want clear daylight. No, not 10 centimetres, not a foot, not the bloke's beard. You know, I want clear daylight, a yard, right? That's offside. Not this half an elbow. Forget that, because it's just killing the game. And the same with the handball thing. That's just.
I mean, I think a yard would be a little bit too much, because if you think about the players that have got a lot of pace in the clubs, they'd be using that yard straight away. They'd measure that yard and they'd take it.
Well, that's when I'd say that's when you could bring in the VAR, when there is that clear thing. But if you're going to go on the width of someone's badge or their chin or it's just ridiculous, because that is.
I mean, how it originally started was there would be a striker hanging around by the goalkeeper, elbowing him in the ribs, tickling him in the testicles, pinching his ass, getting all up in his face, and goal hanging basically the whole time. Yeah. And that's why they brought it in. So it wasn't to rule out a goal for being a width of a hair offside. It was to stop people getting in the goalkeeper's face and staying offside the whole time.
Well, this is what I'm saying now. If you could work this out, well, all three of us could work. Why can't UEFA? Because UEFA said this week they've asked the people who run VAR, the technology, to introduce better lines, the lines that they put across, because the fans don't understand it. No, we do understand it. You don't understand how football works. Yeah. You keep constantly cocking things up.
I mean,
the issue... Oh, sorry.
No, I'm saying
the issue for me, right, is just that it's like bureaucratic people who've never played the game and aren't really fans, and they've just stumbled in. They've worn a suit and tie and stumbled into a job. Go on, Alex.
Saying that we can learn from different sports. So you've got tennis where there's calls. Each player is allowed a certain number of calls. So I would allow each manager one call per half. Where if there is a goal that goes in or a contentious decision that each manager or opposing manager can challenge it, then it goes to VAR. Not every decision. And because like the Bamford one against Palace, there is no way that is offside. And there's no way that the Palace manager would have called to check that on offside as well. None of their players thought it was offside. It was just VAR on its own said it was off. And it's just spoiling the flow of the game. And when you get fans back in, we won't be celebrating because it'll be like, it's gone in, but do we know it's a goal yet? And then the goal comes up.
That they've killed that moment. The moment where you score and you go, fantastic. And before you used to have double check with the linesman or referee. Fantastic. Now there's that period. Now you start killing that. If you kill that moment, fans will stop going. And this will happen. It won't happen overnight, but it'll be a drip, drip, drip. Yeah. And then they'll realise, oh my God, we've really cocked it up. When most decisions in football get made. Look, I'm talking at club level when managers get sacked, when there's empty seats, and that's what will happen. And then the TV subscriptions, people go, I'm not really watching it now, because they're killing that excitement.
But it's like they've managed to keep that excitement in rugby league when they go to the TV, the touch judge, and it kind of keeps that sort of thing. Some referees go to the TV judge far too often, but they do keep that tension when there is a contentious decision. But with VAR, it's just like it's gone in, and like everything, to all intents and purposes, it's a goal. It's like actually somebody in Stockley Park has decided that they want to look at it, and then
I think if any part of your body is onside, then it's a goal.
You've made a really interesting point because you said rugby league and cricket and tennis, they introduced VAR, for want of a better term, into their sports. But they got it right, didn't they? They got it right first time.
You don't hear any complaints like that, do you, really?
No, but that's the interesting... And yet football, that should have been ahead of the field in this department. It was years before. It was... all right, did the ball cross the line? That should have been brought in many years ago. And the technology was always there. But they resisted it. Yeah. And so football then brings on the technology and then fails to get it right. Then cock it up.
I think there are two issues with it. The one issue is the law of the game to start off with. So the laws for offside and the law for handball, and then the other issue is the people who are making the decisions. So I also think that's a big component of it. Is like these people who are in charge of VAR and the referees themselves are not held to the same standard that we would expect of, say, you or I, just who's doing their job, or a doctor or a nurse. I mean, if a nurse made decisions like I've seen officials, the death rate would be through the roof.
Don't you feel that, let's make before they are, most decisions were correct, but they were the big ones. I think one of the big ones was Cardiff played Chelsea, and there was two massive offsides which the linesman missed, and that's when the call for VAR was started to. Yeah. And that's the kind of things where I want to see VAR used, is when it's a really blatant offside. Then up until that point, I'd just leave it for the human beings. The handball thing needs to be worked out, because I can see a team could be losing 2-0 and they'll just say, right, kick the ball at his arm. Get up there, get in the penalty box and kick the ball, which most footballers should be able to do. Yeah. Say, kick the ball at his arm, we get 2 penalties, we're back in the game. And that's rubbish. Let's go back to the old way. If you stuck your hand up and the ball's travelling towards the net, and stop the ball from going in, that's handball.
So I think that was a great sort of taster of the Keith Dover podcast. So we'll just go back to the Arsenal match preview.
Oh, listen, it's going to be a draw.
And so as far as I can tell, Arsenal were... So basically, our listener knows a lot about Leeds. So usually when we get the opposition podcaster on, we get them to tell us a little bit about Arsenal. I remember Arsene Wenger, the Invincibles, and then something happened. I don't know what it was.
I do. It's easy. We moved to a new stadium.
Okay. So it was hybrid.
This was right. So you mean what changed from being the Invincibles to a slow decline?
Well, you finished fourth every year, and you got knocked out of the last 16 of the Champions League every year to Bayern Munich.
Right.
That's what it felt like.
Well, no, it was. It didn't feel like it. That's the reality. But the reality was, we were told, the Arsenal fans were told, we're going to move to a big stadium so as we can compete with the Barcelonas, the Bayern Munichs of this world. And that was, great. Okay, happy days. So we did that. Then, of course, Roman Abramovich tipped up and the Saudis, which changed the whole thing. Now, Arsenal fans were under no illusion that we knew going to a big stadium, it's going to be difficult. We knew where we weren't going to have oodles of money. But, the board goes, no, don't worry, we can afford to buy these players, which was clearly not true because we started to then sell. So actually, what Arsene Wenger was doing was a miracle because we were selling our best players to City and whatever, but still managing to make top four. But we were just missing out on deals. We were penny pinching. I heard from a journalist, we went in for Cahill at Bolton. They wanted 13 million. We offered 7. And they said, nah. And then Chelsea went in and go, okay, we'll pay, I think it was 9 or 11. And because they got a great player and he was worth 30 million. Well, we penny pinched on 3 million and lost out on a great player. Now, that was happening in a lot of transfer deals. Also, I think Wenger, in the days, he could spot young players, but he bought some bad ones, So he did well under the circumstances, but the reality was that we didn't really have the money to compete with the Chelseas and the Cities after that. So I think that was a steady decline. And then once the stadium did get payoff, we thought, great, happy days. And then Stan Kroenke had tipped up. And, we thought he was getting some kind of American true grit. Americans hate to lose. What we got was Monty Burns and Waylon Smithers from The Simpsons. But it was good. It was good. We still managed to get 3 FA Cups, at the end.
I was going to say, because all I ever seem to hear from Arsenal fans is like a chorus of poor me and how it's terrible being a gooner and long suffering and all that.
Well,
I tell you what, you want to see suffering, try supporting Leeds.
Well, listen, I'm 60, so I treat every cup competition seriously. I hate listening to young supporters where the only thing they want to win is the Premier League and the Champions League, and everything else is shit. Yeah. Well, I say to you, you want to be like a Leeds or a Newcastle or worse. So I tell you what, if they won the league, would you take staying up and winning the League Cup this year? If you was
staying up, I'd take that. I'd celebrate.
You take that, but a day out. Listen, let's say fans about day out Wembley. You won the League Cup final. Yeah, it'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? You'd have a day out with your mates, go down to Wembley, a few beers. You won.
I've only been to Wembley once. It was the League Cup final, and it didn't go very well.
different stadium now. It's fine.
It was a brilliant day up until,
of course,
the whistle blow. Yeah. the whistle blow. The team sheet came out.
But at least you've got a memory of that. Yeah. You've got a memory of that. There's some people they've never done anything. Look at Spurs fans. They talk like they're a big clubs, the Spuds. You know, the last time they won a league championship, you'd be a pensioner now if you were born.
Yeah.
You know, I keep having to point this out to Spurs fans because they're delusional. They still think they're massive and they're brilliant and like they've won everything for the last 20 years. And you have to point out, last time you won something was in 2008. You know, so if you'd had a child now, you'd be about 13. You know, you point, it doesn't sink in. They're very dim people.
Yeah.
But, you know, you've got to... No, I take all... so I get annoyed when it's a bit like going back to certain media things, or when you phone in, you get these Arsenal fans phoning and moaning, oh, we only won the FA Cup last year. Well, that's better than nothing, mate.
Yeah.
You know,
God, that FA Cup win of yours seems like years and years ago now.
It does, doesn't it?
Oh,
Well, that was bizarre, wasn't it? Watching a cup final with no fans. That is a Trivial Pursuit question, you know, don't
Yeah, it is, yeah.
What club won the FA Cup with nobody there?
I think I'll remember it. It's burnt into my memories this year, unfortunately.
Honestly, when was the last time Leeds won anything?
Last year.
Yeah, last year won the championship.
No, I'm talking about a proper trophy.
We won the championship.
A proper trophy.
I'll tell you what, you go down to the championship, see how easy it is.
No.
Yeah,
Listen, if we lose against your mob, that could be a distinct reality, mate.
Yeah, invite us on your podcast when you're doing championship roundup. It would be great.
Did you have a civic reception? The open top bus parade and everything.
We had an open top bus, but it wasn't very well received. It was quite controversial because what happened was we finished this final game and the trophy was presented, but obviously we were in lockdown at the time, so no fans should have been out.
Yeah.
But they still had an open top bus, and then loads of fans gathered, which they shouldn't have done, and they had all the celebrations outside, and a lot of people felt shortchanged because the message was to stay at home.
Yeah.
But I understand why they did it. They did it so that there was an event that means it could then disperse the crowd that all go home rather than staying there until the early hours waiting for something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was... we've been a bit robbed of them celebrations, but we'll celebrate when we win the Premier League. It's fine.
I do realise that it's not considered a major trophy.
Yeah.
No. Of course, listen, any trophy...
I was 6 years old, to answer your question. We were the last true champions, so the last winners of the First Division in 1992.
Yeah.
So I was 6 years old. Mm-hmm. So it's a very, very long time ago when you... I know I'm not old yet, but when I'm 34, six is a long way away.
But that was, I remember that day because they went to Howard Wilkinson and God, he was dull. You think you've just won the championship and he's, I'm going to have my roast dinner now. I might have a Yorkshire pudding. I might have 2 Yorkshire puddings actually, and with some gravy. And I'm thinking, he's talking about his Sunday dinner. You've just won the champion. You should be like, this is great. Leeds are going to push on. We're going to win the European Cup next year. And it was like, it was unbelievably. But I mean, you had a great team. Was it Cantona? You had
briefly,
Honestly, I'd be the same. I'd probably be thinking about my dinner as well.
The thing is, when he was outside the art gallery at the whole open top bus thing, when we could gather back in '92, it said, "We're just going to have to go and win it again, then, aren't we?" And we didn't. We had a terrible season the season after.
Yeah, you should have been because you did flirt with nearly making the Champions League and the UEFA Cup Final, which you would have played us in '99, I believe, when you got Galatasaray.
Yeah, that's bad memories of that.
Yeah, likewise.
2000.
They were. We went out to the final, and they were horrible.
Yeah,
not nice. And I don't know if you listened to Alan interviewed Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, briefly.
And when he went, they said that the penalty shootout, the referee said it's got to be taken up at the Galatasaray end. And they went, why? Aren't we going to toss it? They said, no, because they've been told by UEFA they were so scared that it would kick off if Arsenal won the toss and it'd be taken down their end. And it was like, hang on a minute, that's not fair. That's clearly bent.
Yeah.
So I've awarded that UEFA Cup Final to us. But you should have been in that final. And, when we was out in Copenhagen, there was Turkish fans. I'll say not say Turkish, because Turkish people are great people. I've been on holiday there. But the Galatasaray fans were going into hardware shops buying pickaxe handles. Now, you would think, as a responsible shop owner of a DIY store, maybe the best thing.
Yeah.
Why do you...
That semi-final should never have been played.
No,
because you've been robbed in a few European finals, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, if we'd have played you in the final, we would have won 1-0, like we always do when we play you in final.
And it would have been a controversial goal as well, probably. And we could have been moaning that. Because, you didn't win that. It was clearly, we should have had 4 penalties.
That last goal was offside. What if there's like a technological solution that we could have lines across the pitch?
Yeah. Why wasn't there VAR then?
Yeah, exactly.
But I'd
now, Keith, come on, there was nothing controversial about Alan Clark's diving header.
No, there wasn't. No, that was a perfectly good goal. And I talk about trying to milk the public, with some guy, Mick Jones, breaking his shoulder or something. Going, look at me, I'm all crippled up. I'm going to get me.
We had to do something. I've been saying dirty Leeds for the previous 70 years.
Yeah. On my Facebook page, they brought up the Chelsea Leeds final, and they said, reviewed by today's standard, 11 players would have been sent off.
Yeah, it'd be about right.
And I was watching it, and they're not wrong. These tackles were brutal. I mean, we are talking, it was more like a rugby league match.
Yeah.
You can't believe. And no penalties were given. There was guys literally hacked down in that box for both teams. Chelsea were just as brutal as you guys. And there was no penalties. Yeah. No one yellow card. One.
Yeah, wasn't that when Bremner got kicked in the head?
I think it was.
Repeatedly.
Yeah. He had an English accent before that.
I think even the ref was like, okay, that's probably a yellow card.
I don't know if you ever watch any of the old, Match of the Day and it's really funny because, you got Brian Moore and he goes, he's appealing for a penalty, but I don't think so, and neither does the referee. And he
laid down with a broken leg.
He's nailed him into the penalty. Just
we rewatched the San Siro game when we beat them 1-0, and we were watching that, and there was about 4 or 5 times where a tackle went in that would have clearly been a foul and a card nowadays, and it would just wasn't even blown up. And it's the game. It's a really like a bit of a curmudgeon thing to say, but the game's gone soft. It really has. It's not a contact sport anymore.
No, listen. I was listening to a German journalist, and he made a good point. He said it doesn't need to be hard, but players need to think about the tackles they're making. And I think it's the tackles where they're thoughtless, and that's where a guy he gets a broken leg. Yeah. I mean, I think England probably would have done a lot better, but come a World Cup, probably most of the team are in hospital because that season they've been butchered. But
I mean, it just has to be simple, doesn't it? If you get the ball, it's a tackle.
Yeah, it's a tackle, and if you get the guy's leg, shin, it's not a tackle. But you want the game to be played hard, but not mindless. Not that you don't want managers saying now really get stuck in. In fact, just punch him in the head, repeat. No. Get the ball. It would be hard, but there is a happy medium. But it's that stuff where they're just 2-footed tackles.
Right. So we've gone 40 minutes now, and we haven't talked about
Leeds. What are we meant to be talking about?
We haven't talked about the current side of either club.
Yes, because we're shit.
And this is a match preview.
Listen, I bet the people listening now are going, oh, that was a cheery podcast from Leeds this week. Because
I learned a lot about the 1999-2000 season.
Well, I tell you, your listening figures will go through the roof. You're going to be inundated with sponsors. People are going,
welcome back to the Nostalgia Cast, and today we have Keith, and we're talking.
I tell you, next week's podcast, you'll be advertising Betfair, you name it, Guinness. It'll all be coming to. You'll be sitting on the thrones next week.
Other betting companies and drink companies are available.
Go on then, Adonis.
Keith, can you give us just a little brief breakdown of how your your team is going currently, and then we can do our match predictions.
Wow.
Based on something.
Okay, I tell you, you want to break down on what? It's not hard, mate. Just look at the previous results. We thought there was green shoots developing. You know, we thought, we'd won the cup and under Arteta, things to be moving forward. Then we lost to Leicester at home. I mean, listen, we knew I wasn't expecting much of Liverpool away. And Manchester City, and then we think, but okay, we didn't get stuffed. Previously, we'd be losing 5-6-1 up at those places. Well, didn't get. So we thought, okay, it's coming together, and then we get a win up at Manchester, and we think, that's. And then you have the Villa thing come around again. So we're not consistent. And what was worrying last week is that. Well, the Villa game, I should say, is that, one, they didn't seem to want to try, and then Arteta comes out, and instead of bollocking the players, he just said, well, this one's down to me. Well, yeah, well, what did you do wrong then? So say it's down to me. So I don't know where we are. We need another striker. If Martinelli comes back, but he's a young kid. Lacazette is going through one of his troughs again, so... Aubameyang should be played in the middle, but he's played out on the left, so that's not. Our defence is always missing in action. So I don't know where we are. I think, I don't think we're going to make top 6. I thought we might make top 4 this season, but we're lucky if we make top 6.
Okay, and we're coming off the back of 2 4-1 defeats. So that's the state of affairs. Yeah. Now we have the match preview prediction, and so far, Alex, you've clawed your way back. Look who came crawling back.
I'm still last, though, right? I'm still second.
No.
Whoa.
It's 6-all.
Oh wow, cool.
So for fresh listeners and for yourself, Keith, you get 1 point for predicting the correct result. So a win, draw, or loss for either team.
All right, 1-1.
You get 3 points for a. All right, Keith, I haven't finished explaining the rules yet. Jesus, you've come on here. We've invited you. You're a guest. You tried to change it into the Keith Dover podcast with your questions and your topics. Okay, so 1 point for a correct result, 3 points for the exact score, and a point for scorers. So, Keith, I imagine that you're going to say 1-1.
1-1, Aubameyang to score.
Okay, 1-1 and Aubameyang. And who for Leeds?
Be an own goal.
An own goal.
You can't allow us to score.
Louise.
Oh, yeah. Or Louise will give you a penalty.
Right.
Okay, Louise to give us a penalty. Louise to concede penalty. We're getting very accurate on these predictions. You're definitely getting 3 points if Louise concedes a penalty.
How about the official attendance?
Yeah. I'll go to the nearest 0.
Yeah, and that's exactly how many points you'll get for guessing it to the nearest 0. Okay, and Mr. Riot Badger?
I'm going to go 1-0 Leeds. And it's going to be Clark at the back post with a diving header. No, I'm going to go... I think we're going to see Rafinha start, so I think I'm going to go for a Rafinha goal.
Rafinha. Ay caramba.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That was the prediction.
Cool.
Do you get feedback from your listeners at all? Do you?
Yeah. Terrible. Yeah. It's shit. 1 star. Fuck off.
Pub fair.
Yeah. You're going to get 5 stars next week, mate. Oh, that's brilliant.
Where were you when we were shit?
Is that what they say?
Yeah. To be fair, we are the 367th podcast that's been brought out this season for Leeds United. So, we're in good company.
There's so many. That's why back in the day when the Arsenal podcast, we did this. We was like always up in the number 1, top 10, and then we started it again, and there's every man and his dog's doing a podcast.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's what we need to start next, the Every Man and His Dog podcast, where we just talk about every other club and get to the top 10.
That's a good idea, isn't it? The general podcast, the freeloaders podcast, just support any team that's doing really well at that present time.
And in Boris Sporting News.
Now, here's an idea for every fan who's listening. Tell you what you do. I don't know what your fan base is, but let's say you've got some medical students listening to this. Get hold of a skeleton, dress him up, get that skeleton into the ground, put it up. You know those plastic covers they put over all the seats? Sneak it under. So as when fans are allowed back and they take off the plastic cover, there's a skeleton there. And they go, "Oh, Christ almighty, did anyone know with it?"
Human remains were found at the Emirates today.
Yes. And he still left early. Do you get that at Leeds? Do you get anyone they leave about they leave about 10 minutes towards the end?
You do see some of that, and there's the guys that sit behind me always leave at 85.
85,
and that's probably the earliest I'll see us leave. I've left before probably 88, 89, just because I cannot watch this any longer, and I'd rather get to my car quicker and go home.
Right, but let's say you're playing your local rivals and the game's really exciting, you're winning 1-0 or you're 2-1 up, but you never know, got 5 minutes of extra time. Would you leave then? Because I've seen people leave.
No.
Yeah. I mean, do you have any issues with transport? I mean, what's it like? The game's finished. It's not terrible to get out of.
Depends where you park.
Yeah, I park at the top of the hill in Beeston, so you've got a fair walk to your car, but at least you've got better travel out. If you're parked in the ground car parks, you might as well just stay there for the rest of the game. You just sit in the car for probably another hour after the game before you get to the M62.
So, I mean, I had a season ticket for about 8 seasons, I think, in a row, and went all league and cup games, like League Cup games, FA Cup, UEFA, Champions League, all during that run before I moved country. And I never left early. We never left early.
No, we'd always stay to the end. I mean, there has been times I have obviously left, but I mean, I've never understood. They either turn up late, leave early at half-time to get a pint, come back late at half-time, and you're thinking, I don't know why you've even bothered.
Right, Barney.
30 minutes,
Yeah.
You don't do that in a cinema, do you? You just, I think I'll get into that film 10 minutes. What could I possibly miss? I'll nip out for a fag and then leave just towards the end. There you go. Well, do you know anything about that film? No, I have no idea how it finished, mate. No.
We left early when we were younger. We were on holiday near Whitby, and we'd driven back for the game. We were playing Blackburn, and we were getting beat 1-0, and it got to the 85th minute, and we had to drive back to Whitby to continue the holiday. And my brother went, "Come on, we'll just leave, let's go." So we came out of the ground, just walking up the low fields, and just hear Brian Dean score the equaliser.
Oh, no.
I've never forgiven you for that, Adam. So,
and rightly so.
Yeah. But it's one of them things, isn't it? You only learn them lessons after. I think that's the only time that I've left with any sort of time left to go.
I mean, Blackburn, we scored 2 goals in extra time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it does happen. I mean, Derby 97, we were 3-0 down just before half time.
The Southampton game as well, 3-0 down as well.
A lot of people left and we won 4-3.
How do you think Leeds will do this season? Do you think they'll stay up? I mean, you should have had a point at Anfield. I mean, that was, I see a team now, I thought, wow, they're going to do well. But you've had a few knockbacks since, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it ties in with a few injuries that we've had. So it's, I think we've got, Bielsa likes to keep a smaller squad, for obviously because you keep them at the same level of fitness. But the problem with that is a couple of injuries decimates your squad, and you end up playing the kids. And that's why we've been at in the last couple of games. So Calvin Phillips, who is a massive linchpin to how we play, he's been out, but I think he's back tomorrow, hopefully. Rodrigo, our record signing, he's been out as well with coronavirus, so he's back. But yeah, it's one of them things where we've been a little bit of a threadbare squad, and that's kind of highlighted where we probably need to strengthen. We need strength in depth. But so I think if we keep the key players fit, I think we'll stay up easily. I think we'll probably challenge for top half. If we don't, I still think we'll stay up, but I think it'll be tight.
I think it's been mainly more luck than anything else. I've been saying, like, if you look at the goals, they were just freaks or set pieces. And Bielsa in his press conference yesterday confirmed exactly what I'd seen and what I felt when I was watching it. I don't do the analysis he does. Clearly. But he gave a 20-minute answer to why have you conceded the most amount of goals in the Premier League, and he broke down the analysis of each goal. And if we hadn't have conceded these goals from corners, from dodgy penalties, from bizarre own goals, we'd have conceded the fewest number of goals in the league. And I don't think it's anything structure-wise. So a lot of it partly comes down to luck. And the other thing is scoring first. So if the other team scores first, they can sit back in a block, not bother about attacking, and just defend. And that's really difficult for us to break down, for any team to break down. But especially for us, because we don't have that David Silvas and whatever. And if we score first, they've got to come at us and they've got to open up. And all of a sudden, there's all this space at the back. And because we're so fit, we'll attack with 7 players.
Oh, trust me, if we score first, we'll give you plenty of opportunities to equalise. That's a given, mate. Mate, we could be 2-0 up and you'll still have plenty of opportunities to claw this one back. So
I'm very optimistic about the game tomorrow. I saw... I live in Vienna, so I saw
it means
Rapid. Yes, thank you. That's
I couldn't resist it.
It has a similar frequency to Bend Over.
That's what I thought. That's why I said it.
So I saw Rapid Vienna versus Arsenal.
Oh yes.
And you guys were so bad at the back trying to play out. I feel like that is maybe not the best tactical move. Leno looks like a scared rabbit in the headlights every time he gets the ball. And we press everywhere, and especially high up. Yeah. So
this is what I mean. I mean, this is the thing. Arteta's trying to play the Manchester City way, but he hasn't got the Manchester City quality players. And so he's trying to say, listen, I want you to play like Manchester City, play out from the back with all this skill. But if you watch the Barcelonas and the Manchester City, the way it's fast, it's quick. They're really... I mean, when City played us last season and when they beat us 3-0, I think that they are so snappy. It's just quick passing. And you can do that, play out from the back, if it's fast and accurate. We, on the other hand, trying to do it, but it's slow, it's predictable. It gives the other team can literally build a wall. I mean, literally get some bricks and cement and build a wall while we're still passing it around. But that's but we haven't got that quality. And
I mean, I was a lot more worried when we played Leicester and Palace, and I'm more worried of Burnley than I am of Arsenal. So that gives you some indication of our style of play and who we like to play. But anyway, I feel like we should wrap this up now.
Yes. Well, it's been nice having you on my show. And,
thanks for having us, Keith. It's been lovely.
And, if you want to come back next week, you're more than welcome. And, of course, do drop us a message when your listening figures have hit the roof.
Thanks. The check will be in the first sponsorship check will be in the post. Keith.
But I think we've put some certain issues to bed here. I think, we've clearly sorted out the VAR thing, which was good.
I learned something today.
You have learned something today. And I want you to go now Well, he's in Vienna. I don't know. Well, Alex, where the hell are you?
Oh, Leeds, unfortunately.
I want you to
Can
go.
be nice.
I want you to go. I've been to Leeds many times. I'd like you to go into the city centre and preach the word that I've given to you, and just said, you've seen the light.
Well, I am about to go into the city centre, but it's not to preach the word, it's to buy some coffee and come back home very quickly.
Yes.
The Church of Keith.
I have heard the Dover has spoken. Listen to me about VAR. No lines. No lines here.
No lines there, no lines anywhere. And don't forget, I want you this afternoon, go for your old DVDs, Leeds United winning things, and look for that fan. You tell me if I'm wrong. But your listeners are going to be doing that.
The Dover has said that there will be one man left, stood standing alone and motionless. That man is an alien from another planet.
They'll be emailing next week. You're going to be, email. They're going to go, have you seen this email? They're through the roof, and they're going to go, he was right, He's right. In fact, they'll say, let's have him on every week, and you'll go, fuck off. Listen, it's really nice talking to you guys.
Yeah, you too, mate. Cheers.
And I hope you do
too,
well,
mate.
apart from tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's the Tuesday Club, isn't it?
The Tuesday Club with Alan Davies.
That's where you're from.
We're doing that tomorrow after the game, so we'll either be going, oh, no, you won't believe it. We've done really well. Or we're going, oh, here we go again.
Well, I was a big fan of Jonathan Creek, so pass on those wishes.
Yes, and have you ever listened to our podcast at all?
Yeah, I've got you on the subscription. So
It's
Our co-host Ross has as well, but me, no, I don't listen to
I think the podcasts are more in touch with the fans than any of the media and the major radio stations and all of that, and I think that's why they don't like us.
yeah.
I don't mean us personally. I don't think they like fan podcasts and fanzines, because I think we've always known there was a gap between the players and the fans, but I think there's a gap between the media and the fans.
Yeah.
And there's our reality, and because damn well all these people on the radio and that, they get their corporate tickets, they get they get freebies to the club. None of these people have ever paid to get in. They've never queued up in the pouring rain at Ellen Road to get into a stadium. They don't know what it's like.
They've never drooled over a pie and peas.
No.
Have they done it on a cold Tuesday night at Stoke?
No, none of them ever.
Exactly. A few more cliches. No, nobody in the media hates us. Nobody in the media has even heard of us, probably. There's never been one article about us.
Well, they will now. Trust me.
Right, we're famous now. You put us on the map.
Do you ever?
Thank you very.
Go on. No,
put us
there's
on
just
the map.
one last thing. Do you ever get
Dover,
wound up
no.
with your own fans on phone-ins when they're phoning up, and you want to go? Will you get to the point?
Sometimes.
I've been a Leeds fan for 28 years. I sit in the Arthur Crow stand, and I buy a pie before the game, and it's a very nice pie.
Oh, it's quite funny, actually. So what I do is I walk down Beeston and I say hello to my Doris. Doris has lived at 43 for quite a lot of years, but she's had trouble with her back, so I've been helping her out anyway. I go down the road and I say hello to Keith. All right, Keith, over. You're right, mate. And he's an Arsenal fan, but he's all right, And
and you're going, will you get to the point?
Bit of an Arsenal fan, but he's
Well, thank you, caller. That's all we got time for. And what was your point, Alex, on today's game?
I've forgotten what I was talking about. Who are you? Where am I?
And thank you, listeners. That's all we have time for. So you can catch us on Twitter or Facebook. Subscribe on your podcast player. It's at the Roaring Peacock, I believe.
Peacock's
That's
Roar.
what you've been listening to. Yeah, Peacock's Roar. There you go. Even that. My name's Adonis. It's a very goodbye from me and a very goodbye from our guest, Mr. Keith Dover.
Pleasure, guys.
Thank you, mate. And it's a very goodbye from Resident Right Back.
See you later, guys.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Most of our stats come from LUFC Stats or LUFC Data on Twitter. You should probably give them a follow as they're more interesting than us. A very special thanks to Adam Elliot, Adam Warner, Barney Stuart, Cookie, Ewan and Howard Metcalf, Josh Pearson, Laura, Leon and Rob, The Light Show and all our family and friends.
So many games to play. care what's